of here. No use of the new god.
Oh, no, Xenagos throughout. Okay. That's interesting as well. He does, of course, have Xenagos the Reveler, but as far as Xenagos, God of Revels, you're not going to see that anywhere in the 75. VanMeter does have access to both of the new cards from Born of the Gods. He's got his 4-courser in his main deck, and then he has, taking a look here at the sideboard, I know there's a Xenagos hiding out here somewhere. There's 2 copies of Xenagos God of Revels in his Green Red Monsters deck, so we'll see if those new cards do play a role here, as VanMeter is going to be on the draw, Habel will be on the play as he's the number 5 seed. And we'll see which one of these players is going to make it through to the finals to see if they play against Green Red Monsters yet again, or Blue White Control.
Pretty compelling to see a list get this far that's basically just the same thing that was going on 6 weeks ago.
I agree, but I mean, that just shows the power of the deck, I think. The overall strategy is quite good right now, as Jonathon is going to start off with an Elvish Mystic. Chris has a Temple of Abandon, and we are underway here in the semifinals. So Jonathon has the acceleration. Let's see what this is going to be. This is a Domri. So this is a very, very nice start for Habel, as he's going to look at the top card, place it back, pass the turn back. VanMeter, he's going to need a Caryatid or an Elvish Mystic, I feel like, right now to get himself back into this game.
And this is the start that's, you know, the theoretical, the nuts from the Green Red Monster list is the turn 1 Accelerant, turn 2 Domri.
Now, of course, that Missing Immortals and the Elvish Mystic isn't so bad. A Scavenging Ooze is going to go to the grip here for John. He's going to play that Ooze, going to play a Forest so he can remove the Elvish Mystic when he needs to and pass the turn back here. So he's still doing just fine as VanMeter just draw a Stomping Ground for the turn. Play that Stomping Ground untapped. He's going to go down to 18. Now here's a Courser of Crufix. Top card is a Mountain, and Chris will be able to pass the turn back.
Pretty valuable for Chris here, as it appears that he's bottlenecked on mana, so that 4th land's really critical.
Jonathon will take a draw. Looks like an Elvish Mystic comes rolling off the top after a Scavenging Ooze activation does take care of the previous Mystic. So Ooze is a 3/3, and Habel's sitting at a pretty healthy 21 life right now.
And with Chris not really doing much of anything right now, the threat of Domri just going ultimate is a real thing. You don't see that a lot in the mirror match, but the game's on pace to possibly go down that road.
You see Rampager plus Ooze activation. It's going to be a whole bunch of damage coming through. It's going to be 8 total, and now Domri is going to be able to fight Courser as well. So this is a really nice turn from Jonathon. And there is a Mountain just passing the turn back. So Ooze is starting to run rampant here, as Mountain's going to come off the top of VanMeter's deck. We knew that was coming from the Courser. We'll see what he can follow that up with, though, however. As that Domri is really starting to loom pretty strongly here. The other thing, too, is that Scavenging Ooze is a 4/4 right now, so if VanMeter were to play a card like Gore-Clan Rampager, Ooze can just activate, eat Courser or Gore-Clan, and then fight the next creature as well.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility. For some seemingly pretty straightforward attacking decks, there's a lot of small synergies that go on as well.
Here's a Xenagos. That's going to attack Domri, so I'll put it down to 1. And now Xenagos may end up biting the dust here from Scavenging Ooze, but I still think that's a pretty good exchange, kind of playing the role of Fog in this situation, and the 2/2 did a nice job of kind of controlling Domri a little bit, as Domri does check the top and does whiff.
And the 2/2 is still left over. It's not a pure card disadvantage.
Yeah. Looking pretty good here, does Xenagos the Reveler. We'll see what Jonathon can put together. He's got a Xenagos of his own. So that's going to come into play, of course, with 3 loyalty, and we'll see how he wants to use that this turn.
I would imagine we are making a token of our own here.
I'd be surprised if we weren't, as Chris does give Jonathon a Satyr token from his deck box. In we go. We'll see where we're headed. Looks like just straight to the life total. Doesn't care about Xenagos at all, as the Force is going to come into play, along with Elvish Mystic, and passing the turn back. So VanMeter's going to sit here at 4 life, and he's got some serious catching up to do.
Very aggressive angle here from Jonathon, sensing that the game is within reach.
Chris with a couple copies of Domri's in his hand, but they're not really doing very much at this point. The Xenagos, God of Revels that he has, is a little ways away from being active. He does have a copy of Flesh Blood, and he also has a Gore-Clan Rampager, so not the worst cards to have, but he's really got a formulated game plan because he's behind the 8 ball right now.
I mean, he can play Domri and fight to clear out the elf, make a token, but at 4 life, he needs to play defense as well. So Jonathon's kind of taxing him on 2 angles right now. He's demanding answers to the Planeswalkers, which causes Chris to have to be aggressive with his attackers. But he also has Chris very low on life.
Yeah.
And so Chris needs to play defense as well. It's hard to do both things.
And Chris also has a Rampager in his hand right now. I'm curious if he has an untapped land or not, because one play that he could make is attack. It doesn't look like he has a land in his hand, so he's going to make a Satyr token. So I'll just reserve judgment on previous play because he does not have a land at this point. We'll see where those Satyr tokens are going. We'll get confirmation from our table judge to see exactly where those 2/2/2s are rolling into. It looks like one at each planeswalker.
Oh, I think we're going to see Flesh Blood to finish off Xenagos and or a Rampager rather to finish off Xenagos.
Yeah. So you see a block here. Hellish Mystic getting in front of that first one. That'll be attacking Domri. The other one that's attacking Xenagos is being allowed to go through, and now Chris has got a real decision to make on what he wants to do.
For example, if he has Rampager plus Flesh Blood, he can finish off Xenagos and then fight after combat of the Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah. So there goes the Elf. There goes the Xenagos. Here's a Flesh Blood. That'll take care of the Ooze. So this is a pretty good turn. He's caught up pretty well here, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of dangerous draws here that Jonathon has, of course, but
you can't beat everything. You can only beat what you know about. I think that's what Chris is trying his very, very best to do. Is this a Stormbreath Dragon? Is it a Rampager? It's a miss. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Now is a great time to sign up.
Now this gets really interesting because Stormbreath Dragon is probably game over at any point here on Habel's side.
Yeah.
With VanMeter at 4 and now 2 because of this Satyr token. Mutavault comes into play. Don't ignore that. That's for sure. But VanMeter makes it out of that turn alive, which he may not have expected to do. So now he's got an active Xenagos. He's got a lot of mana to work with. He's got Xenagos God of Revels in his hand too, so he can close out a game pretty quick. But he's got to get moving here because he does not want to give Jonathon the opportunity to find a copy of Stormbreath Dragon. So you probably want to take care of that Domri if you can, as his Temple of Abandon is looking at another copy of Xenagos God of Revels. Xenagos the Reveler.
Chris is going to be pretty confident that the top card of the deck is probably not very much of impact. It's likely to be a land, possibly a Mizzium Mortars.
Yeah.
But he does not have that much time. And Jonathon's at 22 with a plethora of game-ending draws.
Very, very scary spot. You see Chris, it's time to go in the tank. See, I think his hand right now is double Domri and Xenagos.
I mean, I imagine he has to, go after Domri. He'll probably play a Domri of his own and fight the Satyr token, leave a token back on defense, something along those lines.
Yeah, he gets an activation from the Xenagos that's in play. He gets an activation from the Domri in his hand. It's just what are the best activations for that, and what are the best attacks to make? Because you almost certainly want to try to kill Xenagos here.
He certainly has to pressure Domri.
Yeah. And both are going at Domri. So this is basically saying, do you want to exchange your Mutavault from one of my creatures? As your Mutavault is very valuable right now, actually. And there's a chance that I have a Gore Clan Rampager, too. Chris says, okay, that's fine. Your Domri goes down to 1. You don't get to fight with it. So now here's my own Domri. Battle. And now make another creature. Pass turn back. So the board is clear right now. And you know that the top card isn't something that's useful. So now you're just trying to fade a Stormbreath Dragon as Domri does tick up. Okay.
Chris clawing his way back.
Okay.
Still a lot of draws for Jonathon in a lot of time.
But he knows the next one he's safe. That's the big deal here, is that he knows the next one is safe because it's not a card that Domri is able to reveal, and Domri is likely going to die this turn on Habel's side. As Chris checks the top of his deck with his Domri, and he misses. You take a look at the devotion count here with Domri and Xenagos in play. That is 4. You got Xenagos God of Revels out there. That would be 6. And here comes the God of Revels that can pump up the jam. And that thing's close to going active. And again, with the way Greenwood Monsters is, Patrick, it can close out a game so fast that it puts Habel under the gun to draw a Stormbreath Dragon in like 2 turns.
Yeah, Jonathon can go from 22 to 0 in, like you said, the course of 2-3 turns.
So you see Xenagos' ability, it's going to go on one of those Satyr tokens, of course. Let's see what else Chris is going to do here. One's going to take care of Domri. He's going to leave one back on defense, it looks like. That's interesting. Oh, I know the reason why. Access to deck lists. He knows that Boon Satyr is hanging out.
Potentially.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to get too aggressive. There is a Stormbreath Dragon that Habel cannot cast. Uh-oh. Does Chris have an out here? You see Chris saying, that's not good.
He has the out of killing him.
He has Stormbreath Dragons of his own to play defense. There's a Mortars. So I think we're looking for a Stormbreath. Bad is not one. I'm not sure there's anything he can do to get himself back in it now.
Yeah, Chris came very close to making an incredible comeback here.
Yeah.
But
and he shows copies of Domri and Mizium Mortars and concedes the game. So Jonathon Habel is going to win game number 1 over Chris VanMeter in the Green-Red Monsters mirror. As we are going to bring it back here to the booth because it's time to give away more premium, of course. Cedric Hills, Patrick Sullivan here in St. Louis. It's time for the 6-month giveaway. Pretty simple. I'm going to ask you guys a question. You're going to hashtag your answer on Twitter. Hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live, of course, and we'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. The question actually a pretty simple one. Within Chris VanMeter's main deck, he has a card that's often reserved for the sideboard as a singleton copy within his spells. He's got your normal stock creatures. He's got Domris. He's got Xenagos. He's got Mizium Mortars, a singleton Fleshblood, and then a one-of spell that you typically see in the sideboard of Green-Red Monsters decks. Name that card. Make sure you do hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium, and you're following at SCG Live. We'll draw from the group of winners at random. And again, it is about accuracy, not speed, as the answer will be announced, as well as the winner at the conclusion of our semifinal round. So best of luck to everybody watching at home as we do take a look at the sideboards here.
And when you're playing a one-of in a deck that doesn't have any search or card drawing, you know what we call that?
What do we do?
It's a fun of.
It is a fun of. That's an F-U-N of. That's absolutely correct. We'll start with VanMeter's side. I've got that one in front of me here. I'll take a look at 2 Rorik Thars, 2 Shocks, 2 Plummets, 4 Mistcutter Hydras, 1 Fleshblood, 1 Destructor of Revelry, 1 Chandra Pyromaster, a Garrett Caller of Beast, and a Mizium Mortars. Love Mortars in this matchup. Much more so than against Jund Monsters, so I'd expect Chris to bring that in. Chandra Pyromaster is okay. If you're getting hyper-aggressive, it makes it so the opponent cannot block, so you can certainly like that in this matchup. Garrett Caller of Beast, I think, is really an interesting one, because that one can win a game by itself. Like in the situation we just saw there, Garrett Caller of Beast wins the game on its own. I don't know how often you get yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
But if you do get yourself in that situation often, it's going to win the game on its own. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come in here. We saw how good Fleshblood was in the matchup, so you can assume that's going to come in. Shock is a little bit interesting. When you know that your opponent obviously has Elvish Mystics that you want to control, but they have Boon Satyr as well.
Shock does get a little bit more attractive in that world.
But everything else outside of that, I don't think Chris will bring in. We'll, of course, see how he opts the sideboard, but I think that those are the best options that he has available.
Yeah. And on the other side of the table, Jonathon's working with a Mizium Mortars, a Hammer, Perforos, a Rorik Thar, 2 Shocks, 2 Plummets, 2 Unravel the Aethers, 2 Chandra Pyromasters, and 4 Mistcutter Hydras. I do, of course, like the additional copy of Mizium Mortars. I'm curious about Hammer and Perforos. I would imagine that card is primarily for blue-white control and Esper and other sort of longer, grindier games. To me, it almost seems like 3 mana, your team has haste, might be worth a card in this matchup because the games are so swingy and explosive. So I wouldn't be totally shocked to see that one come in. And, of course, the additional Mizium Mortars is quite good, but I'm not a big fan of the rest of the sideboard. I've seen Chandra come in sometimes and not come in other times. By and large, I'm not a huge fan of it, although it's much better on the play than on the draw.
Yeah, it's interesting because Chandra is a powerful card in certain circumstances, but I don't think it's a card. It varies from how good it can be, I guess is the best way to put it. As we find out here that the blue-white versus green-red monsters, they're still in game number 1, unsurprisingly.
And probably a good sign for Ben if that's the case.
Yeah. If we're going this long into game number 1, he's probably getting the job done. And to be fair, I think blue-white is favored in game 1. I think things get much worse for them after the sideboard. Not to say that they can't win, of course, but I think if you have to pick someone who's going to win game number 1, I would lean towards blue-white getting the job done.
Although Aaron was on the play, and as we noted a couple times, times here. Ben's main deck was not maximized for winning that matchup. The 3 copies of Last Breath, definitely for other decks.
Yeah.
Although it is a little bit better now that Courser has replaced Boon Satyr in a lot of these green and red lists.
Yeah, and Courser's important in that matchup because, it does make sure that you're always drawing good cards. So it definitely has a role in that matchup. Obviously, life game's not going to matter all that much, but the fact that you're able to manipulate your draws to make sure that you are always drawing gas is, it's definitely very useful.
We are approaching 10 o'clock right now, and so most of the room has filed in for the Legacy Open. It looks like it's going to be a big one. I don't know if it's going to be a 10-round big one, but we're going to be comfortably in 9 at least.
Yeah, we are full up here for our Legacy tournament. This is going to be pretty awesome stuff to see. We've obviously got our names in attendance here. I see Andrew Tendrum walking around, saw Joe Bernal, Tommy Graves. A lot of players here looking to get some Open Series points, move up the leaderboard. And then, of course, you've just got everybody else who just came to game. And start to make a name for themselves as Magic players. And as you mentioned, there are a heck of a lot of people here.
Yeah, our Legacy challenges yesterday were packed too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of energy in the room for Legacy play.
So if you like Brainstorm and Friends and Gristlebrand, you make sure to stay tuned later today because we're bringing you all sorts of Legacy action. Should be a lot of fun. I know Jeff Blyden yesterday showed me the deck he's playing in this tournament. He's playing a different take on Death and Taxes, which I think is going to be pretty interesting. It looks like both players are going to take a mulligan down to 6. He's got a little blue splash in Death and Taxes.
Oh, for a double blue spell.
Well, he's got it for Meddling Mage and Vendilion Click. I had not realized the interaction between Vendilion Click and Spirit of the Labyrinth.
Yeah,
which I think is sweet.
That is just too nice.
Yeah, and the combination of Flicker Wisp with those cards is really nice too. Of course, being able to reset your Meddling Mage and being able to use Vendilion Click again. I think we could maybe see something from that particular version.
There's a lot of sweet synergies going on there.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And I haven't thought of any of the Hate Bear-esque cards for a blue, a base white splash blue version. But there's probably some sideboard cards I'm not thinking of that are probably really good for that deck too.
Well, blue typically gets a lot of really good sideboard cards in Legacy.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
So,
but a blue deck without Brainstorm, I've heard that's a no-no. Breaking the rules.
When you're brainstorming into Mother of Runes and Sarah Avenger or whatever, it's not quite the same as looking at.
Isn't it though?
It's not quite the same as looking at sneak attacks and Emrakul's and ad nauseams and so forth.
Tomato.
Yeah.
That's basically what this equates to.
Oh, 3 creatures of varying cost and quality. I guess I'll shuffle back 2 of them. I don't know. It's a little less attractive in that world.
Just depends on how you like to play Magic.
No, I understand. It's not for everyone.
I don't like to get down with Gristlebrand and Friends. That's not cool. That's not fun. See both players.
Did you play Reanimator at the Legacy Grand
I don't
Prix?
know what you're talking about. See both players.
What are you talking about?
Looking at 6 cards here. I don't remember that. That was like a couple months ago. Again, VanMeter going to be on the play here as he did lose that first game. Doesn't look happy about this one either. We'll see. All right, he's going to keep it, as will Jonathon. There's a Temple of Abandon to begin things. Going to consult his hand with Chris. You see why he was debating it. He's got 4 more lands on a Stormbreath Dragon.
Not a great hand, but really hard to mulligan to 5.
Stomping comes to play untapped, and there is an Elvish Mystic. And you see Chris, no! I don't want you to have bad acceleration. It's so good in this matchup. This VanMeter is going to take a draw. It's a mountain. We are land heavy, my friends. There's a Mutavault past turn back, so you can start to threaten a little bit of damage and stop that Elvish Mystic from attacking. Or can he? Ooh, there's a Gorkline Rampager. I would have gotten in.
He might have a Boon Satyr.
That's true. That's true. He actually, it looks like he does have a Boon Satyr. Here's Domri. That's going to tick up. Let's see what Chris can find. There's a Gorkline Rampager of his own. And there is a Boon Satyr.
This is a really good Boon Satyr.
Yes, it is. That one gets to take down Domri all by itself. Elvish Mystic going to come into the red zone as well. What's the follow-up going to be? Sylvan Caryatid, just past turn back. So no third land, but access to 4 mana next turn for Jonathon.
So as good of a start for this is as for Jonathon, these are the exact kind of draws that get buried by overloaded Byzantium Mortars. So it's something to be conscious of. I don't know if Chris has in hand right now. It appears that he does not, but there's a huge risk of, if that card comes off the top for Chris, it's an enormous swing.
Yeah, that could be the card that turns it all around. So we'll see if he's able to find one. See VanMeter giving a lot of thought to this turn about what he wants to do. He's got an Elvish Mystic, he's got Stormbreath, he's got Rampager and lands in his hand. what's the best course of action here for the Green Red Monsters player. As you see Jonathon in his hand, he has got 2 pop as Missing Mortars. So he's doing pretty well right now.
You can see how good Paul Kronos is in this matchup as well. If either player had it at this point, it would be a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, it really would be. So VanMeter is in the proverbial tank right now. We'll see what he comes out with here momentarily. It's a rough road ahead, though, especially when we can see Jonathon's hand. He's going to start by playing a mountain.
Yeah, they had a couple different options that turn. He could have played, you know, a Stomping Ground tapped and just cast Elvish Mystic.
So exciting, that option, though, you know? Are we coming in? Okay. Oh, boy. I like it.
Yeah, Jonathon knows about the Rampager from Domri last turn, so.
And he played Elvish Mystic to pass the turn back, and what he's basically doing right now is kind of threatening Missing Mortars.
Maybe seeing if he can get Jonathon to pump the brakes a little bit on adding to his board.
Yeah. This is a creative line. It would have been very easy just to cast Scorecline Rampager that turn, like use all of your mana, pass, hope it doesn't get Mortars, trade with the Boon Satyr, something of that nature, but Chris is opting for a much more creative line. As here comes Boon Satyr yet again. Chris says, obviously no blocks, I'll take 4. This is a Sylvan Great to passing the turn back. Oh boy.
Yeah, this could be a huge Mortars here.
It's a sweat. It is quite the sweat. It's a forest. Well, he wanted to get him. Man, if he draws Mortars that turn, we are looking at a brand new game.
Oh, yeah. 2 lands versus Storm Breath and Rampager in Chris's hand.
There's a Storm Breath, and Chris just keeps right on attacking. I like it. Pass the turn back here. And I think Jonathon, so what Jonathon was trying to set up was a Mortars of his own, and he just drew the 3rd land to be able to do so. So both of them were trying to set up a Mortars.
Usually the edge goes to the person who already has Byzantium Mortars.
That is accurate. As you see a 2 for 1 here, and let Boon Satyr come in. Now if Chris draws Mortars this turn, he's still okay.
Yep.
He draws. That may have been Kronos. It was. Okay.
Certainly not a bad draw.
No, not at all. Come on in here with that Mutavault. The thing I like about Chris's game, even if he doesn't win, he is getting in as much damage as he can.
Yeah, he's definitely gotten his shots in, which is great.
I really, really like that about the way that he's played this game. You know, getting in all of the damage that he can with Mutavault, Stormbreath Dragon out, hanging back on defense, trying to trade, because he knows he can't win that way.
Right, and, you know, I think in pre-Born of the Gods, Green-Red Mirror match, you know, the incremental damage didn't matter that much. It was about overwhelming someone. Now with Xenagos as a part of the equation here, it's a lot different.
You see Habel's going to say, all right, Missing Mortars, your creature before combat, attack you, double Gorkline Rampager, and because there's already 4 damage on the creature, you only have to assign lethal damage. So 1 trample damage. Now that's a 12 power attacker, and 12 minus 1, that happens to be Chris's life total. That is a really good play by Jonathon.
Yeah.
That is a player that obviously understands how his deck works, and I could very easily have just seen a play where Jonathon goes, attack you, Rampager, kill your guy, and then you know, VanMeter draws Mortars, clears up the entire board, and we're talking about something completely different at that point.
Just identified that he had exactly lethal that turn and went ahead and got it done.
Congratulations to Jonathon Habel. He's moving on to the finals, stopping Chris VanMeter's fantastic run. Chris has nothing to hang his head about. He's had a very, very, very good tournament after starting 1-1-1, making the semifinals, accumulating Open Series points, and moving up that leaderboard. But for Jonathon, he's got the chance to hoist the trophy.
Yeah, and an opportunity here